Hi everyone, today I'll be doing the gallery from TryHackMe, which is easy difficulty Linux machine. The creator is Mika, so make sure to check him out. But yeah, this video is just gonna be like a bit write up for you to learn and my thought process behind everything, how I do stuff. So yeah, as you can see, I already completed the box. And yeah, and one thing to note, I'm kind of sick, so if I sound weird, that's why. So yeah, let's start off with nmap as usual. Because it takes some time to run, I already ran it. So if I go to nmap directory, uh, here is the file that I called initial scan. So I'm just gonna display it, initial scan. Here is the command that I run. So nmap -sc for default scripts, -sv to enumerate versions, -on to output normal formats, and put it into nmap directory. Call it initial scan and the IP. As you can see, there is two ports open. One is port 80, which is a default HTTP port, and we can see that the title is Apache to Ubuntu default page. So that's just basic default page, and port 8080, which is also HTTP. And yeah, it says the title is Simple Image Gallery System. So we can already answer questions. So how many ports are open? We can say it's two because we have obviously port 80 and port 8080. So if we navigate to port 80, we can see indeed it's Ubuntu default page, default installation page. Nothing here we can really do. But if we go to port 8080, we can see it. We got redirected to /gallery directory and login.php. And here we can see it's simple image gallery system. And we can again enter the name. What's the name of the CMS? It's simple image gallery. And if we try to log in with default credentials like admin, it won't work. Admin password, for example. So what I would do here is basically I would do simple image gallery, and I would type in default credentials because that's something I would do because some of the CMSs have default credentials and people setting them up don't change them. But in this case, that's not true. But we can Google simple image gallery exploit. And the first result is simple image gallery 1.0 remote code execution. Now here it really doesn't say any, uh, there is no version disclosure, so we can't really know which version it is, so we are gonna go with a great guess. And if you look at the script, it's basically gonna go to classes login.php. That's and it's gonna post the data. Here we can see that it's basically trying SQL injection. We can try that too. So if we do admin and then do or 1 equals 1 or with hash, we can see we logged in. So it is vulnerable how the script says to SQL injection. We can bypass the login. That's basically SQL bypass login. Um, Here it's basically what's doing is we can see that it's uploading a shell. So this looks like a great script. I'm just gonna download it, save that file, and then we can let's clear the screen, go back one directory, and here I'm just gonna sudo move from the downloads, and that's the script is called 50214.py. So 520.py, and we're gonna move it into this directory. We can see now it's in the directory that we wanted. So I'm just gonna rename that. So move 502 and call it exploits.py, and then we can run it with Python 3 exploit.py. We can see that it asks us for target, which indeed we can see it asks input and then target. And yeah, let's put in the target. So it's http // 10 put in the IP address 192.168. it doesn't work. Maybe we need to run it with sudo. So http / 10.10.192.61, and we maybe need to put in the gallery. And now it indeed works. Um, Here we can see the shell name, the first name, the last name. And here it did upload the shell and it's giving us the link. So I'm just gonna copy that and navigate to that. And indeed, we can see we have basically a web shell from command parameter. If we type in ID, we can see we are data. We can do all sorts of stuff. So just for sake of things being easier, I'm just going to use burp suite and then capture that request and modify. So I'm just going to start burp, turn on the burp proxy. By the way, this is Foxy Proxy, which is extension for Firefox, which basically I've set it up so we can proxy everything to burp, every request on the web page. We can proxy on the burp suite. So yeah. So if I go and, for example, now press enter, it's gonna go straight up to burp suite, and we can see that this is the get request that we send to burp, and I'm just gonna send that to repeater, so we can repeat multiple stuff and get response code. So if we send that request with the ls command, which is list, we can see it listed out the contents. We can basically show you ID, data works. So next thing, obviously we have a web shell. We can go and do we can basically put a reverse shell. So one good website I like to use is rev shells. Oh yeah, we need to turn off the proxy because it's gonna wait. Rev shells should be, yeah, revshells.com. It's a really good website. We have a lot of different reverse shells we can use. One of which I know most of the time works is this one. And then we're gonna put in the IP, our IP, which is 10.9.169.114, and the port we're gonna listen on is 4444. We can copy that, and before we put in, we're gonna nc-nvlp, oops, nc-nvlp to listen on port 4444. Here I'm just gonna go back to burp. Gonna put in the shell, reverse shell, and then we can see that it's all in gray. It's because this is not gonna execute because there is a lot of spaces, so we gotta URL encode that. And to do that, I just selected the part I want to URL encode that, and I pressed Control U. And if we send, we should see no response because it should hang. And yep, we have a shell on the system. So now I'm gonna upgrade the shell. I'm just gonna type in which Python 3 to see if we have Python 3. And indeed, we have Python 3 on the box. So Python 3 -c for command import pty.spawn, and we are gonna spawn bin bash. Oops, bin bash. Close that, close this. Here we can see a good shell now. Next thing, we're gonna Control Z to background the shell and type in std raw -echo and then foreground. And if we press enter, now we're in the shell. Now uh, we can use arrow keys to navigate better without gibberish. So next thing, we're gonna export term equals xterm. So we can clear. And now we have a fully functioning shell. Next thing, since we are data, we gotta escalate to a user, some kind of user. That's usually the case because you never go from data to root instantly. So if we look at the home directory, we can see that we have a user called Mike. Now, obviously, since this is so my usual thought process behind exploiting this kind of CMS, and so basically if there is some kind of CMS involved, it should contain some kind of databases. usually. So, and it's usually located in var www.html, so which indeed is, but we are in a directory called uploads, which won't really do us good, so I'm just gonna go up directory. And if we list all the contents from gallery CMS, we can see a lot of different files. Now, we gotta look uh, and think like what's the best thing we want to look at. So basically, for example, like albums, we don't care, archives, we don't care, build, we don't care, but like there is, maybe we can check something like databases. So let's go into databases. List all we don't see anything, so that's weird. We're gonna go back, list again. Maybe there is something more interesting. For example, config.php. That could be interesting. Maybe that is a configuration file that sets up a CMS with some kind of credentials. So if we cat config.php, here we can see it's basically a PHP file. Um, we can see that it requires initialize.php and the database connection from classes. Um, we can see there is not no any kind of credentials, so but it did use initialize.php, so we can cat initialize.php. Oops, cat initialize.php. Aha, here we have first name developer, and we have some password that's hashed, looks like an MD5 hash. But here we can see a database username, which is gallery user, and database password, which is password 321. So we have some kind of credentials. Now, gallery, we know when we listed the home directory, there was a user called Mike. Before I do anything, I'm just gonna go into my directory for that machine, and I'm just gonna create a file called, for example, notes.txt, which is pretty good because we can like put in stuff that we find. For example, like this, we can store this and put in the password like this, so I can copy, and if I like, for example, forget something, I can just easily copy from here. I'm just gonna call this tab notes.txt. Okay, so next thing, because uh, all Linux machines have MySQL or MySQL, however you call it, on the system. It's usually a great way to always, if we find some kind of credentials like this, we can check the database. But before that, we can try our luck with the password for the mic. So if we su uh, to change the user to Mike, it's gonna ask us for password. So we can probably try pass this one, and it looks like it doesn't work. Yeah, it gives us authentication failure because that's not the right password. But we can try MySQL with the dash u for user, and we're gonna call it gallery user because that's the database username that we found from here from the initialize.php file, and tag b for password, and it's gonna obviously enter your password. We can try our luck with this password. And indeed, we are in the SQL database, which is MariaDB monitor. So because this is a classic database, I'm just gonna show databases. And this is just basic SQL syntax databases. And here it's going to list two databases, so gallery database and information schema. So gallery, this is information schema is always the default, but gallery database is something we want to look at. So I'm just going to use gallery underscore DB. And we can see that it says database, it says database changed. So we can show tables. Here we can see it has album list, images, system info, and users tables. So I'm just gonna select all, and the star means all from users because that's what we are most interested in users. And here we can see the administrator, admin. We can see the column password is this, and it's hashed. So basically, this is answer to our question, which is what's the hash password of the admin user? And this is basically the hash. And yeah, that's the hash. Next thing is obviously I tried cracking this and it's not gonna work, but because it's a good password. But yeah, that's just the hash from the CMS admin. But yeah, if we quit the database, next thing I'm gonna do is what I usually like to do is we can run some kind of privilege escalation scripts. So I'm just gonna navigate into TMP directory. On my local system, I put everything in opt privesc, and if we get in, there is a lot of privilege escalation things. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna host a Python 3 mini web server -m HTTP server, and then I'm gonna wget linpiece, which is in my opinion the best privilege escalation um, script. So yeah, wget our IP 10.9.169.114 on port 8000 because Python mini web server is hosted on port 8000. So port 8000 slash linpiece.sh. And now it's downloaded. We are gonna chmod plus x to make the script executable. And now if we do dot slash linpiece, we're gonna run the linpiece. And this usually takes some time to run. So I'll see you when this is done. Okay, so the script is done. And we can start from the top, which is usually the best way. Let me just scroll to the top. Okay, this is the top. So uh, the legend says that red slash yellow is 95% a PE vector, which really doesn't have to be. That's why it says 95%, because there is a great chance that that could be privilege escalation vector, but it might not, which you'll see right now. This says vulnerable to CVE 2021-4034, which is latest PwnKit vulnerability that was found, which is not the privilege escalation in this case. I've already tested. Um, as you can see, I already downloaded PwnKit and tried executing. We can stop the Python mini web server, close this, but yeah, this is not the case. Uh, and here, what's the user flag? And if we check the hint, it says Mike's mistake, so PwnKit is probably not his mistake. So that's a good way of thinking, but yeah. If we scroll down a bit, processes, we don't really see anything because that's not gonna help us because we are still dub data and we are trying to get the user. So finding root processes is not in our uh, it's not our goal currently. So we can check here, nothing really special. Just to save time, there is really nothing special here. Um, I'm just gonna scroll down until I found uh, the privilege escalation to that's intended. So if I go down, it should be somewhere around here, or yeah. Here we can see searching passwords in history files, and here we can see that the commands that were run was sudo -l and then best password bro xx. So this is some kind of password, and it's probably good chance. I'm just gonna put it here just to save it. We can try changing the user to Mike again and trying that password. If I copy that and paste, here we can see that we have successfully changed the user to Mike. Now we can go into home directory and then go to Mike. Here we have user.txt, and if we cat that, here is the user.txt flag. Uh, I think it that this password was found in var somewhere like backups, cd backups, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Mike home backup. If we go check that Mike home backup, cd documents, accounts, cat accounts, that txt. Yeah, here it's accounts. That's not what we wanted. It should be somewhere in the documents or cd. Wait, let me see if there's any hidden folders. Yeah, here we can see that the hidden folder is bash history, which we can cut out because this is a backup file from temp directory history. Yeah, here we can see that the found credentials were actually from here, but Linpiece successfully found them and displayed us that. So yeah, this is where you would find these credentials. Uh, but yeah, a great way of thinking is that there is always in var or opt directories where backups would be stored. But yeah, that's it. That's the flag. And now onto the root privilege escalation. So usually when you are already some kind of user on the system, you would run sudo-l to show which things we can run as sudo, because that's usually the way you would privilege escalate to the root. Doesn't have to be the case, but usually is. Uh, and we can see that we don't need a password to run as a root. We can run bash on opt rootkit.sh. So if we check that, so it's some kind of script. If we go to opt directory, we can see there is this script. So if we cut it out, we can see that uh, this is the script that we can run as root. So let's check it out. It's gonna read uh, the tag e-p, which is gonna print out, would you like to version check, update the list, or read the report? And then it's gonna put the variable ans for answer short, which is gonna read in. Oops. And then it's gonna execute. It's gonna make a case statement based on our answer variable. So if we put in version check, update, list, or read, it's gonna do these things. So if we type in version check, it's gonna do user bin rk hunter dash dash version check. On update, it's gonna do update. On list, and on read, it's gonna do bin nano root report.txt. So a general rule when you got a script, it's the best way to run it. So sudo bin uh, bash opt roots git.sh, because that's the full path we can run without needing password for sudo, and it's gonna output us. So let's say we want to version check, and indeed it does run RK Hunter as the script stated, checking RK Hunter version. Um, but I was stuck on this for a little bit because I was trying to find if we could replace RK Hunter file with something more malicious. But we can't, because if we check uh, user bin RK Hunter, we can see that we can only execute it. We can't really change anything because we don't have write permissions. So I was stuck on this until I saw bin nano. So if we do again run the script, and if we do the read command, which is gonna activate bin nano, which is text editor, and it's gonna read the root report.txt. So if you type in read, we can see that we are in a nano text editor. But if we think back, we run this script as root. So basically, this text editor nano is also uh, ran with root privileges. So if we go to GTFO bin, so any kind of app on Linux that is run as root, we can check on GTFO bin. So if we type in nano, we can click on sudo, and we can read here if the binary is allowed to run a super user by sudo, which indeed we can run it through the script. It does not drop elevator privileges and may be used to access the file system, escalate, or maintain privileges. So here we can see that how we can escalate our privileges. sudo nano, we don't need to run because we are already nano, but what we can do is control R and control X. So if you do control R, we can file to insert from, and then if we control X, command to execute. So now we can execute any kind of command, and this is the command that it is recommending us to run. So if I paste that in, which is basically reset, and then it's gonna run sh. If we press enter, and if we press enter a couple of times, we can see we are now root. And if we type ID and who am I, we can see that we are root. So basically we have escalated the privileges, and now we are root. So if we if we cd into root folder, we can see root.txt, cat root.txt. And here is the flag for the root, which you should put here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Hope you learned something new, and because I I made this video so like people can see like the thought process behind and everything. So yeah, hope you learned something new, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.